I'm into this storytelling things. I'm going to tell one more story, then I'll go on to some other stuff. Because I want to tell you a story about Gladys. But before I get to Gladys, I got to tell you about Lucy. Y'all don't know Lucy, do you? Or Gladys, do you? Well, maybe you do. You see, Lucy was a woman who was having a hard time in life. And a good friend of Lucy's, who was a good friend of mine, said to me one day, she said, Streety, she said, I got a friend who hasn't talked in a long time. And she talked last night. She told us she was going to take her own life. She said, now I was wondering if you wouldn't go by, take your guitar along, and just let her know that there's something to be cheerful about around here. I said, well, Dorothy, I'm in psychology 1A. I don't know if I'm ready to deal with nobody who's about to take their own life. She said, no, don't do no psychology. Just take your guitar along like you do and just let her know that there's something to be cheerful about around here. I said, all right. So I jumped into my then little 1967 Volkswagen Bug and drove about 40 miles out to Lucy's house. And when I got there, Lucy wasn't there. Her husband answered the door. I said, yeah, I'm here to see your wife. But I quickly explained to him what the deal was, and he was cool. He invited me to come on in. And a short while later, Lucy came home, and she was with the kids who were then 7 and 8 years old. And she had heard that somebody like me might be coming along. But when she saw me, she almost dropped the groceries and turned around and walked out. But she came on in and she struggled with it. And we sat down and we had dinner and we talked and sang songs. And for someone who hadn't talked in over a year, she was doing wonderful. And I went home thinking, yeah, I done something good. But that night, Lucy took an overdose of sleeping pills. Wound up in the hospital. So I went to visit Lucy the next day, and that's when I met Gladys. Classified schizophrenic manic depressive. Gladys just kind of sat there gazing off into nowhere the whole time I sang and entertained the patients, but I wanted the only black woman in the group to be moved too. So I sang a spiritual, precious Lord, take my hand. One that I knew she would know. And just then her body shifted, her head lifted, and her eyes met mine for the first time in an hour. Tears just running down her face like holy water. And when I saw that, I just sang and sang and sang and sang and drew that song out for what must have been a lifetime. And she cried all the time. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. I'm tired, I am weak, I'm worn. At the river I'll stand. Just guide my feet, Lord, and hold my hand. Just take my hand. Precious Lord, lead me on. And just then I had an idea, and I said, Gladys, do you sing? She didn't say nothing, so I said, Gladys, do you sing? And she just came on up and did her thing.
Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn. Through the storm take my hand, precious Lord, lead me on.
And when it was all over, the tears just dried up and disappeared from her face like magic. Her jaw stiffened and her head turned again to gaze off into nowhere, and I thought that she was gone. Damn, I knew this woman for one whole song. But for her, it may have been a lifetime. Bye-bye.